Yeah. So, think we're ready? Are we recording yet? So I'm going to call the Village of DeForest Public Service, Parks and Natural Resources Committee meeting. It is the May 20th meeting and we are starting at 6:04. So I'm calling that to order. And Reese, can you denote roll call? And just a note for everybody that Mackenzie is online. And Greg is online too? Okay, thank you. And recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, would you mind leading us? Thank you. Item number 4 is announcements. And 4.1, the Public Service Committee will convene into closed session pursuant to section 19.851. Do I have my glasses on yet? I think that's an E. Yeah. Of the Wisconsin state statutes for purpose of deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public property and investigating of public funds, conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasonings require the closed session. And tonight we'll be discussing negotiation of acquisition of park lands. And item number 5 is approval of the minutes, and we have the minutes of the April 15th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion or discussion? Motion to approve from Bill. Is there a second? Seconded by Dawn. Any discussion, revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And number 6 is public comment. So in front of me, as I get my glasses out, we have a number of people that turned in papers. And I'm just looking right now, we have a Ann Seeker that wishes to speak. And then after her is a Shirley Block. Then Louis Lehman. Anne Marie Priest before us. And those are the 4 people we have wishing to speak. And in general, we have approximately a 3-minute time limit. So if I ask, I'll say, Anne, if you could please come up and please state your name and address for the record. And then we'll have approximately 3 minutes. Push it once and it'll turn green.
Ann Seecher, 409 Maple Circle, DeForest, Wisconsin. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Public Works and Parks Committee tonight. I'm speaking for my husband, Jim, and myself. We are here to show our support for the proposed ordinance amendment relating to the preservation and protection of natural areas in DeForest. We would like to thank the village staff members and village board members who have worked so hard to update this ordinance, which addresses specific natural areas and relates to the preservation of natural ecosystems. We agree with staff members that promotion of protection and preservation of natural areas is necessary, and that specific wording in the ordinance will guide future decisions regarding allowed uses of these areas. We wonder if, as part of this change, the areas considered conservancy or protected natural areas in this document could be coupled with a detailed map so there would be a clear understanding of the boundaries of the natural areas as defined in Section 4, Section 16.01, 2 GM Item 2 definitions. We do understand that this section will occasionally need to updating as future natural areas are identified. Once this ordinance is updated, we hope that the new comprehensive outdoor recreation plan will also have specifics regarding the importance of preserving and protecting the limited sensitive natural areas in our area. Lastly, we would like to thank the Public Works staff members who have planned and participated in recent environmental activities in DeForest natural areas. Two that we know of are the Arbor Day tree planting and last Saturday's invasive plant pulling in Western Green, in which Greg Hall graciously donated his Saturday morning to guide us. We appreciate the care staff members are taking to make sure our current protected lands are preserved for all village taxpayers and their families to enjoy in passive recreational ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley Block. Again, please state your name and address.
I need to push a button again.
Yep, up looks like it's green right now. So,
My name is Shirley Block. I'm at 413 Mayapple Circle here in DeForest. And as I'm concurring with Ann Seacher, who just came before me, I am also in favor of the plan to conserve the natural areas, the conservancy areas. And I also feel it important to outline with a map or some other way, the particular areas that apply to the areas that are to be off-road, to be not available for off-road biking, because I want to protect the natural parts of our areas around DeForest and Windsor. I guess that's about all I have to say because I didn't prepare a written statement tonight. So, thank you.
thank you very much. Next person wishing to speak is Lois Lehman.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Yes, I'm Lois Lehman at 212 Harvard Drive. I'm here because I heard about a coyote bite incident, and I don't have a lot of information about that. I just learned about it, but that apparently it occurred in Windsor. However, I wanted to talk with you about being proactive with being safe and still living with our wildlife. I really don't know what the history is for the village. My background is advocating for coyote protections. And I brought some information if anyone is really interested. But I wanted to let you know, if you are not aware, about Professor David Drake with the UW Extension in the Forestry Department, who has a YouTube hazing coyotes. Is the village aware, or do we do anything? There's a lot of wonderful paths and green in DeForest that I love. A lot of people, dogs, pets, everyone. And I wanted to be proactive about not having continued coyote confrontations or conflict. And so I did bring my, my computer that has David Drake's YouTube. It's on YouTube. It is free. And I'd love it if the village would take a proactive approach, educational approach for the citizens of DeForest around both coyotes and even fox. So I didn't realize that we have a 3-minute limit. Do you want me to come back and show you David Drake's YouTube hazing program, or I'm just wondering what your thought is. I do have a story that I wanted to share with you, though, that is not YouTube. It is a wildlife biologist who was out doing a wildlife survey in a semi-remote area.
I apologize, we're at 3 minutes. I'm wondering if you could maybe pass the information on to.
I can make a copy of that and then I can share that with the committee, so the information you have.
Okay, and could I get some feedback about how you feel or what future input I might be able to give about
Well,
this subject?
there'll be a, you mind if I,
We're gonna, go ahead.
we'll have a discussion later, a brief one about our urban wildlife management plan that was updated by the board, last board meeting, and give the Public Services Committee an update on that. And we can certainly have that conversation as far as the YouTube video. I mean, we'd want to watch it, see how long it is, and then we could share it with the committee members and they could watch it at their leisure. And if they wanted to so show it here at the village, at a public services meeting, they would direct us as to do that or not.
Yep, I would echo that sentiment. If you could pass, you said you had some information that was advocacy, and it looks like you have a written statement that you could pass on to Judd and Reese.
Mhm.
And that link to, I know I would like to see that, but I don't necessarily, without knowing how long it is and stuff, I don't want to say we be presenting it here, but I'm
Okay,
sure
yes.
everybody will get a link to it, and I'm sure everybody on this committee will be watching it.
It is a 2-minute YouTube video. So, but I totally understand. You know, I walked in and I didn't know what you may have already you know, done in this area. And maybe it's I think it's just important if we can be proactive so that we don't have you know, conflict.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
it's,
Forward and or front back. Is there
I
anything
didn't put
else?
my name on it.
Okay, I
Should
can make sure I attach it.
Oh,
to your
okay.
sheet.
All right, and I don't know if you're interested in this, but this is my resolution that I submitted to DNR.
Okay,
Um,
I can include it. I'll make copies of both and then I'll
Okay.
give them back to you.
thank you.
Thank you very much, and you're more than welcome to stay in case there's any questions or anything.
Oh,
Yep.
all right.
But-
Good, thank you.
Thank you. And then Anne Marie, you were the last person registered to vote?
Hi, my name is Anne Marie Priest. I live at 4599 Sunburst Drive. At the village board meeting, that was after the very last park committee meeting, I heard something very interesting in the fact that one of the village board members said that the Conservancy was a marketing ploy and, you know, like not really a conservancy. So I actually called the Rings to find out about that. And they were kind enough to say that, no, this actually was donated land, that the village actually put it in a C1 zone. So yes, the Conservancy, the Upper Yahara is a conservancy. They also went on to tell me about what the ordinances were for C1 zoning. The ordinance is passive recreation only. So that wouldn't be bike races and that wouldn't be off-road biking. So I would like to see that ordinance enforced. And the other thing at that same village board meeting that really surprised me, because I was one of the people that filled out one of the surveys, is the concept that although the comprehensive off-road, the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan asked absolutely nothing about off-road biking, somehow that same plan is going to decide if we allow off-road biking. So I think we, because of the zoning and the ordinance, the off-road bike that got cut, this should have been nipped in the bud in 2021. And instead, here it is 2024, and I'm still showing up here when I really should be out trying to save democracy. So I think if this would result in either changing the zoning, which would mean that the village of DeForest would have less than half the conservancy land they have, or changing an ordinance. And that would mean that you could off-road bike in any of our conservancies. So to say that it doesn't have passive recreation. The other thing that really surprised me, of course, is having the comprehensive off-road plan decide if we're going to off-road bike, even though none of the villagers were asked about that in the survey. And when I came to the workshop, everybody at the workshop was adamant that they didn't want off-road biking. So I'm hoping that this is just nipped in the bud and I don't have to worry about this anymore. But if it isn't, this is a Freedom of Information Act requesting information on not only off-road biking, but the multiple park regulation changes that seem to ease off-road biking into the program, and also the decision-making process for the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. How are we deciding that when none of the villagers were asked that? So I guess it isn't the villagers. So I think we need to know who it is that's doing that. So if it's over and the ordinance is going to be enforced, you'll never see me again. If it isn't, then we're going to have to do the Freedom of Information Act on all these items. Thanks. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ann. I would want to state something as far as the Freedom of Information Act. I don't quite know how that works myself, but I guess from your presentation, I don't believe you're actually requesting anything right now. Is that correct?
No,
You'll
if
be
the
filing it.
ordinance is going to be enforced, there isn't any need for that. If it isn't, we need to know how that decision is being made by how the decision is being made, because it certainly isn't being made by the villagers. Like, who's deciding if we're going to allow off-road biking? So
I just-
anyways, we've
yep.
got all this stuff, but you
Yep, I just want to make it clear that you're not
today.
not telling me to do that now, that I would ask that you probably file that with Bill Chang or somebody else at the village staff.
It would get, if you have
When
a
it comes to that.
open records request, the Freedom of Information Act, that goes to Callie Lundgren, our clerk, and she would then be able to address that and gather that information and determine what is required and what's not. So.
Great. Thank you, Judd, and thank you, Ann. And that is everybody I have registered wishing to speak. Is there anybody else in the room that wishes to speak? We can have you fill out a form. And as I'm also looking online, I don't see anybody online. If anybody online wishes to speak, I don't think you can actually talk without being unmuted by staff, so you might want to raise your hand. I'll give you a couple seconds. Otherwise, I would say we're done with the, what do we call it? Public comment section number 6. So thank you all, and we'll move on to presentations. There's a presentations 7.1, Dane County Parks and Open Space Plan presentation.
Yep. Yeah, so we have Alex here online with Dane County Parks, and he's gonna be able to share a screen and give a presentation today. So I'll let him take over from here.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I will try to screen share here, see if I can get this to work. Okay. Do you see the slideshow presentation?
Yes, we do.
All right, looks like I can see it in the little box down there too. All right. My name is Alex D. Smith. I'm the senior landscape architect with Dane County Parks. And we are in the process, working on our Parks and Open Space Plan update for 2025 to 2030. So thanks for having me tonight. The team we have working on this consists of myself, Jolene Stinson, our Parks Director. I think some of you know her. And then Chris James, our Park Planning Manager. And we have Lindsay Kinky and Dan Schmidt, two landscape architects on our team. And then we have one LTE, Jeff Prey, helping us with this plan update. Quick overview of Dane County Parks. We welcome about 5 million visitors annually, managing over 18,000 acres of land. And we're the largest county park system in Wisconsin. Our park system's kind of broken up into multiple classifications of parkland. We have 25 rec parks. Most of those consist of our dog parks, disc golf courses, and lake access sites. Then we have other park land that's classified as wildlife areas. Those are typically open to public hunting, very less developed than recreation parks. Then we have 14 natural resource areas that are more focused on wildlife habitat and are kind of left in a natural state, even less developed than other areas. We have 4 historical and cultural sites, 2 county forests, and over 100 miles of trail, being that bike, equestrian, cross-country ski trails. We also have 3,000 acres of conservation and stream bank easements throughout the county. 5 campgrounds, and those consist of typical campgrounds with then also the addition of adult and youth group campsites. And we also have 1 indoor facility, the Lucier Family Heritage Center. And so talking about our Parks and Open Space Plan, what exactly is that? It's our 5-year plan. It kind of is our common vision for park, recreation, and resource protection initiatives throughout the county and across our park systems. This plan we update every 5 years, and it gives us an opportunity to check in with the public, check in with our local stakeholders, local units of government, and keeps us eligible for state stewardship grant funds. We've been through this process before. We have about 50 plus years of parks and open space plans that are kind of the framework for the existing plan that we have right now, the 2018 to 2023 plan. And that existing plan is still very much being implemented. It's still very active. And a lot of the recommendations within that plan will carry forward. They're still very valid and will carry forward into this next update. So what is the plan? The plan is a big, long report that comes with all of our policies and recommendations for all these various parklands that we manage and operate. But it's also a snapshot in time of existing facilities that we currently have. And this map right here kind of gives you a snapshot in time from back in 2018 of all the trails that we have and all the parks that we had. So we'll be updating this. And then it's also proposed development. So obviously the regional trail map that you see here has kind of been the framework for several decades now of trying to provide connectivity across the county for off-road bike trails and connecting parklands for bikes and hiking. So where are we at in this planning process? As you can see kind of on this slide here, we're very much in that public input process, reviewing the existing plans. And then kind of we'll be moving into inventory analysis of our existing facilities, completing the recreation and acquisition needs analysis based on public input that we get from public information meetings that we have, local units of government, and all of our stakeholder meetings that we're going to be having. And then we compile and organize a draft plan with recommendations. And so then we kind of bring that back to the public for review and recommendations. And that kind of is a back and forth process via making sure that those draft plan recommendations are something that the county is willing to adopt. And so what does this look like in terms of kind of a timeline? So we're very much here in this initial kind of ongoing public input process. We had 3 public information meetings across the county. We had a western one, a central one, and then an eastern one in the county in the village of Windsor. And so now we're into having these local units of government meetings where we provide an opportunity to hear from local units of government, get the message out so that we can get your constituents to give us comments as well. So moving forward, we'll be formulating those draft plan ideas that we get from the public comment throughout this summer into fall. And then we'll have a draft plan that will have those recommendations put forward, put on our website, and then have some more public information meetings so that we can hear comments on those draft recommendations. And then moving into winter and then into spring, trying to finalize that plan and then adopt that plan probably early spring 2025. And so kind of current process, as I mentioned, we're in the public input meeting stage, going through local units of government and stakeholders, whether those are internal stakeholders, local units of government, DNR, or other partners that we work with. Going through our land and facility inventory, updating all the acreage, updating the classification systems, and then also looking at population analysis and our recreation needs analysis. And kind of one of the things that we're seeing with that right off the bat is Dane County is the 2nd largest and fastest growing county in Wisconsin. And Dane County Parks is the largest metro county park system in Wisconsin. And the fastest growth areas continue to be central and northeast areas within the county. Our overall population continues to trend older. And walking, running, hiking, biking, and fishing continue to be some of the most popular pastimes, both nationally and locally. And our dog parks, our disc golf courses, multi-use trails, lake access sites, camping, and outdoor education are popular activities throughout our park system. As part of this Parks and Open Space Plan 2, we also look at current Dane County Parks. And Dane County Parks is part of the Dane County Land and Water Resources Department. So we look at a number of topics to include within this county-wide plan. So we look at regional trail project priorities. We look at improving accessibility and inclusivity within our park system. We also look at stream and wetland restoration projects throughout the county. And we're measuring carbon sequestration on these restoration projects to look at renewable and green energy, and then climate change impacts on our park system. That's something that is very much a county initiative that we're looking at, and the impacts on our parks and recreation facilities and how our parks and recreation facilities can help us combat that. We also look at cultural resource preservation practices and policies. A main piece of this Parks and Open Space Plan update is reviewing our current policies and reviewing our current policy or practices to make sure that we're keeping up with the times. We also look at, for this update, impacts the pandemic had on our parks and recreation facilities. We saw a massive increase across the system in terms of usership, and how do we respond to that? Is that going to be the trend going forward? And then how do we sustain and maintain an expanding park system with higher use? And then a new update for this plan is we have a new division within Dane County Parks, and that's engagement and visitor services. We're expanding our outdoor education and strategic engagement services for youth, trying to engage the youth to interact with parks, nature, and our cultural resources and natural resources. And then just basically we're spreading the message on how villages, towns, and cities throughout the county can pass along this information so their constituents can provide feedback on the Dane County Parks and Open Space Plan. So we've got the website here, which has all the information on it. So we can have you look at that, and you can submit comment forms via that. You can also email myself or mail comments to me at this address here. And that's what I have for you today. And again, here's my information for passing that information along to share with your committees and constituents. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Yep. Thank you. I guess, Alex, I will pause a second because I will end our item 7.1 and we'll move on to 8.1 discussion and recommendations on Dane County Comprehensive Outdoor Recreational Plan and Request. And then I will open it up for questions if anybody has any. Guess one question is, can you provide this slideshow to us, or have you already?
I can email it. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. We can, I don't know how we do that. I know we could probably put something in the minutes, but. Oh.
If you reach out to me, I can share it with you.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's on Dane County's website already, but. Alex, can you move back one slide?
Yep.
Yep, we'll leave that up for a second. And actually, Anne Marie or anybody else, this whole our whole meeting is on gonna be posted on the video, so it will be available too. There. Looks like we're copying it. Thank you, researcher, or whoever's doing that. So is there any questions of Alex, or maybe I can turn it over to the staff? Is there any comments that you want to make? I know you prepared at least some ideas. Maybe talk about the process we're moving forward with.
Yeah, I mean, I can just share. So we as staff, kind of knowing that Dane County was seeking input and open to input, we put together some recommendations that we had to share, and just we're thankful that Alex was able to come to this meeting to just talk about their plan and where they're at. But, you know, from our discussion here, our hope is to be able to send what the committee's recommendations would be to Dane County then for them to consider. You know, as noted in the memo, you know, it's definitely for consideration for them. It does not mean that Dane County Parks has to accept any of our requests, all of our requests. But it's really helpful, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, just for them to know what our priorities are, things that we're looking for in the larger scheme for the whole county. So most of the things that, you know, we had highlighted was doing a trail connection to connect Regstead Park to Token Creek Park, looking to see if we could get some then assistance also with getting a bridge connection between those two properties that would need DNR approval. And then looking at partnerships and land acquisitions in and around the village of DeForest. As I think we all know, the cost of land continues to go up. So any type of partnerships that we might be able to do between the municipality and the county to be able to have a joint venture, I think would be a great advantage to us, or both. And then just looking at some future trail connections to Madison, you know, if that would be something that would be possible of being able to connect all of our trails that way. So those are the three main ones. Open for any other ideas that the committee might have that we could edit and share back, or if anything they want to strike. So really open to you guys.
Okay. I apologize to do something a little bit odd, but I'm going to speak a couple of comments myself before I forget them again, because I think everything that I was thinking off the top of my head, you've already written down, but I just want to mention I was part of different meetings, and I think where you say connect to Madison, I think it'd also be good to say the connect to Sun Prairie and Wanakee. And I just remember, again, this is 10, 15 years ago, where we had talked about having Token Creek a bit of a hub where all the, say, four communities, fourth being DeForest / Windsor, would all sort of connect to be able to go different directions. I remember that from a long time ago. And the other thing, I like your idea about partnershiping and far as sort of getting, maybe Reek said the more feel even part of Token Creek, because you have trail connections. And along the same line, I think they call it Cherokee Marsh North, the land acquisitions that have happened just north of 19. I think that would be a great asset to the village if we could say more, I'll say better utilize that as even our park. And I think we've got some trail connections shown in our village comprehensive plan and different things. So I'm very interested in what is shown in the Dane County plan with respect to that property. So that's everything I had. But anybody else from committee members? Mackenzie, are you there? Anything from you?
Yes. Hello, Mackenzie Lucius here. I love the idea, just and I'm new here, so I just want to just throw out my thought here, knowing that I'm new. But if it does serve as a hub for Wanakee and Sun Prairie, not only just a trail connection, but some type of service facility or some type of physical structure that might help bridge those to whether it's restrooms or just other ideas. Again, new here, just throwing out a potential idea if it serves as a hub, some type of physical structure that could help support that hub.
Good idea. Alex, is there anything else that you're searching from us that you maybe want to lead us into a conversation?
Yeah, I'm just kind of listening, jotting down some notes, and I think Reese, are you gonna email me that those kind of comments after the meeting? That'd be great. One thing I'll say, touching on this property a little bit too, I can kind of give you some updates. So where your cursor was just there south, yep, obviously we own south and then north of Highway 19 there. To the south, I guess it'd be the southeast corner of that roundabout there. We just completed on the west side of the creek there, yep. We just completed an ag wetland mitigation bank restoration project with the DNR, and that was part of the previous Dane County Parks and Open Space Plan. And a small parking lot went in on River Road there to open that up to some public access. But we did leave, so a lot of that's in conservation easement under DNR, and that's going to be more of a wet mesic kind of prairie. There's information online about that actual project on Dane County Parks under current projects. But we did reserve a 40-foot corridor along River Road in anticipation of future bike trail connections going north and south. And so we are also talking north of Highway 19 about some potential restorations on that piece right there. There, I believe, is kind of drain tile under that current ag field. So the idea would be that we take that out of production, restore that to natural vegetation. But we would also reserve along River Road there a corridor that we could utilize for potential future off-road trail connections. And that is part of our regional trail map. Again, those kind of dotted lines I showed earlier on that plan are very conceptualized. They don't really represent, and I could go back to that slide if need be, but they don't really represent kind of any property acquisition that's been done. But they are kind of just regional connections that we are looking at trying to make. And you touched on that one from trying to connect into Token Creek, and that's very much a recommendation of the current plan. And I was just kind of flipping to, and I'll pass this information along for you folks. Page 83, within the Upper Yahara River Natural Resource Area, the recommendations from the existing plan are to work with the village on development of a regional off-road shared use bike trail along the river that would provide connections to Token Creek and Cherokee Marsh. So I think that's exactly what you're talking about. And then the other one is continue acquisition efforts through Dane County and increase land acquisition efforts through the Dane County Conservation Fund. So what that is within those kind of areas, those green blobs that I showed, and if I can screen share real quick one more time, I can show you what I'm talking about here. Go to this. So in these kind of green areas, I'll zoom in a little bit if that helps. These are areas that we've kind of identified as, you know, potential for acquisition or partnerships in terms of providing additional kind of parkland or regional trails. And like I mentioned, this was kind of the regional trail plan, and showing those connections to Token Creek is very, very conceptualized. And then these connections down here to the Cherokee Marsh Wildlife Area. And then I think you mentioned, you know, how does that connect to Token Creek, but Sun Prairie. And so this map here is part of the Parks and Open Space Plan, and comments would be welcome on that as well.
Thank you. Any committee members? Bill?
Yeah, I like how you have trails on both east and west portions of the village. We have an opportunity, Northtown Road is going to be connected with Windsor. So that's going to open up an ability for people to bike down to work at, say, Bell Labs. They live in Windsor, DeForest even though it's on road, it still gives us an opportunity to have a safer method for bikes, keep them off say Highway CV. I think the connection to Token Creek is important. A lot of people have expressed interest in that. Also connecting to Madison for somebody that really wants to, you know, to bike the 5 to 10 miles to get into Madison. People do that. It's not something that's hard to do. People routinely bike 20, 30 miles and give them that option to connect to Madison. Sun Prairie, Wanakee is possible. I know we have to keep up on the state DOT project on 19 when they redo the interstate to provide a trail of some kind underneath the interstate. Currently, there isn't anything there. We need to connect to Fleet Farm and beyond. And whenever possible, to include trail access in heavily traveled areas off-road. It just makes good sense for future planning.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? Yes, Matt?
Alex, you mentioned on page 83, I just pulled it up here, recommendation work with the village on development of a regional off-road shared use bicycle trail along the river that would provide connections to Token Creek County Park and Cherokee Marsh. Can you tell a little bit of history about that, and has there been any efforts that you're aware of that have moved in that direction?
I don't think there's been any recent developments on that. Again, it's how just keeping tabs and these open lines of communication on how the village is kind of expanding their bike facilities, whether it's on road or off road. Obviously, you have a kind of substantial off-road trail system. You know, the Upper Yahara bike trail, and we also provide grant assistance in terms of our park and ride. It's kind of a variable program that we've provided in the past to kind of create these connections in local municipalities that would tie into some of the countywide regional trails. So I think that that's more along the lines of how these kind of collaborative type projects would go. But again, it's just kind of creating this awareness, and this 5-year plan update allows us to do that kind of on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
I guess if I could add from my memory of those conversations, there was a desire of, I'll say Madison, or I don't know if exactly Madison or who, but they have a pathway over the interstate at Anderson Road. And that would be more or less the road I would say go north-south or go south from Tolkien Creek. So I think that's why at that time we were thinking Tolkien Creek, because it makes sense. But that's obviously evolving with the different interstate and 51 studies and different other things. So, sorry, Alex, anything
No,
else?
yeah, you're exactly right. Looking at feasibility of, on-road facilities and then off-road facilities obviously require, acquisition or ownership. And so how do we create these connections to, village facilities, but then also county facilities? So Tolkien Creek, I believe, had a master plan done in 2011, which is still being implemented. And so I think there might be some recommendations in that, but yeah, very much kind of dependent on those overpasses on the interstate. The opportunities there are fairly slim. There's only a couple good options there. But as those infrastructure projects come into play, having these regional trail connections shown on the map can potentially solidify potential funding or allow us to pursue grants or allow other communities to pursue grants for expanding those bridges in certain cases when need be, if those are the only options to provide those connections over, say, like an interstate.
Thank you. Looks like Judd, you have a.
Just point out, if you go to Dane County Parks, the website that he shared, if you click on the presentation slides, I think you'll get a much more in-depth presentation. I think what Alex shared was kind of a pared down version of this.
Yeah.
And I think you can even watch the recording that they did in Windsor, right? So you could pull that up and watch it on YouTube and gather additional information that if you wanted to go more in depth. But otherwise, Dane County Parks has been a good resource and good partner with us. And I'm sure if you reached out, they would be happy to talk with you, Jolene or Alex or others there.
Yeah, and then under related plans is where that tab on the left there is where you can see the current plans and all past plans. So if you want to review that 2018, 2023, that would be kind of where some of these recommendations would be a good framework and comments.
Alex, I think you mentioned a 2011 for Tolkien Creek. Sorry if I got the year wrong. Do you know where those would be on?
Yeah, I can, if you scroll up, I can kind of walk you through a little bit. So if you go to Park System, drop down, go down to Planning and Development. Scroll down. So Dane County Parks Open Space Plans on the left, Master Plans is in the middle there. If you click on that, those are all of our adopted master plans, and you can scroll down to Tolkien Creek. Yep. And then I would click on, if you click on that first, excuse me, not the first one, click on that last one. That's a more zoomed out image there. Yep. So that kind of shows some of those regional trail connections in terms of not only Tolkien Creek, and this was kind of the idea here in terms of where potential parking would go, potential future parkland acquisitions and things like that. And as I think you're aware, we have acquired over the last several, I call it a decade now plus, some properties along Highway 19. through that corridor there. And this was kind of based on some of these recommendations from this master plan here.
I will say there's parking on 19 here. For those that aren't aware, there's a house there. It's very small parking. I mean, you maybe get 2 cars, and then there's a public easement that traverses down here to get down into the Token Creek area as well.
Yep, and so there might be some expansion of that too, with some future property stabilization opportunities that are coming up on that parcel there. I think that's the graph parcel.
Okay. And I guess, can I ask staff again, as far as process, are you gonna create a letter from comments tonight, or do you wanna leave it open for us to review the plan for a week or two and bring a letter back next month? I guess I don't know timing, and maybe Alex, you can chime in as how quick you're looking for comments too.
We're taking comments throughout the summer, so we'll be having several meetings with stakeholders and other local units of government. But yeah, you can just email those over at any time, and we'll take them. You know, if you want to do them collectively, that's great. But if you just want to shoot them kind of shotgun style approach, that's fine too. And I will say on that Token Creek, on page 72, you know, the recommendation for that park is to continue to implement the master plan. So that's kind of how it's all tied together. So if you see something in there, that's kind of how to get to those plans on our website.
Yeah, I mean, we can come back to the meeting in June with a letter with the comments from tonight and the notes that we had and get approval and then send it to them after collectively. If that's what the committee wants. I mean, ultimately, it's the recommendation that you'll get that staff will follow.
I guess I see a bunch of head nods in the room. I personally think that would be pretty beneficial as far as having more of a collective voice of DeForest coming to the comments. But that being said, I mean, we all have our own opportunity to comment ourselves too, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out in that time and share. Please at least give me like a week and a half.
Thank you. Alex, anything else, or I feel like we maybe are done?
No, I appreciate the time and discussion. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing those comments.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Appreciate it.
So that's completing 8.1.
Make a motion to move to item 8.4, the ordinance, the nature ordinance 8.4.
Motion to take things out of order and move to 8.4 is made by Bill. Is there a second? I'll second it. So all those in favor of taking items out of order and moving the 8.4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Aye. Okay. And Mackenzie, did you vote?
Again, new here, approved to move it out of order. Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we are now on item 8.4. Discussion.
It
What?
failed 3-3. Is it?
Oh, I heard aye, so I was confused. So can we re-vote? Sorry. So let me redo that if I can. But all those in favor of moving 8.4 up in the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed to moving 8.4 up in the agenda, please signify by saying nay. So motion to discuss 8.4 at this time passes 4-2.
No, it's 3-3. Oh, she did. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
So discussion of 8.4 is discussion and recommendation on ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance amending various sections of the DeForest Municipal Code relating to the preservation and protection of natural areas. That is a current item, and Reese, you brought up the 2024 ordinance, so thank you.
This ordinance here should be the red line version, and the different changes to the ordinances that will be coming forward to tomorrow to the village board. So a couple things: public nuisance defined, some grasses that needed to be updated and removed from the noxious weeds, and then the DeForest Municipal Code amended to read these sections regarding public lands. In the Public Service Committee, to be maintained natural area or private lands maintained in planned natural landscaping in accordance with section 27.051. Then there's definitions of natural area. That is updated here. Thing skips so fast when I scroll. Then section 5, 1601 sub 3 sub O of the DeForest Municipal Code is amended to read as following: bicycles and other vehicles, the use of bicycles and other human powered vehicles in parks and natural areas shall comply with general ordinances of the village and the following regulations. Bicycles and other motorized or non-motorized vehicles shall be parked only in areas so designated, except to the extent authorized by village's comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. The operation of bicycles or other human-powered vehicles within the following areas shall be restricted to established village trails, roads, paths, or other pedestrian ways that have been improved to facilitate pedestrian use by the installation of concrete, asphalt, compacted gravel, wood chips, or similar materials. Natural areas and adjacent to Western Green Park, and the natural areas located south of Western Green Park and east of River Road. So there was a request or a discussion about a potential map. It's hard to map all the areas, which is kind of why it's laid out with the roads or areas, right? So natural areas should mean any land owned by the village which is maintained in a primarily natural state. That including natural or restored prairie, wetland area, woodland, water course, or similar area, but not including any area that is both planted in turf grasses and routinely mowed by the village to facilitate recreational uses. So Dawn had sent a request to me today asking for just kind of outlining where these areas are. I did my best to grab these images and share, but so there's mown areas throughout. So this first map is Western Green, right? There's mown areas all along this northerly edge and then through this heart of the easterly part of Western Green. And then even around the trails, there's mown areas just outside the trail, right? So a lawnmower, tractor riding mower width of grass is maintained. Very seldom is a trail butted up right to a forest, sedge meadow or something, right? There is some sort of a natural, not natural, but some sort of a mown buffer, right? So a man-made buffer, so to speak. This here would be Sunnybrook Park. So there's this area here, which is again mown areas directly adjacent to that. The same thing would happen along this trail edge as it runs over towards Woods Glen Court. So this is Blue Stem Trail, Indigo, Bull Rush Circle. So as you're coming, after you left Sunnybrook, you go up the hill and you come down the 12% grade and you wind and twist your way around. Again, there's some areas there that have grass buffers. Some areas boardwalk, but there's this bridge that crosses here, and then you land back in here. So there's some, again, grassy areas that are mown around here, that transgress the entire length of this area, right? There's a boardwalk here, and then again, there's mown areas as you crest the hill up to the top. As you're coming down, this is Innovation Drive. There's mown areas here. There's a mown area that goes down towards the river where people could fish. So you could ride your bike in that grassy area, mown to get down to go fish, right? And whether it's a 10-speed or a mountain bike, you could ride in that area. Just across Innovation is Innovation. There is a Rivers Turn in that area. I had it highlighted. I guess I just didn't crop it well enough when I sent that to Dawn. I apologize. But of course, there's some mown areas just along that trail segment there. And then as you get up into Hawthorne Point, there the trail is buffered by the woods. There's not much of a mown section. There's even some stepped areas with retaining rock, limestone rock and whatnot. So, but as you come out of that area down the hill, there's again areas that are mown grass that are along the boardwalk that facilitate access and easement for folks to get down to. There's some sitting benches that have been placed along there. It's really a beautiful stretch of the river where people might want to get out to again fish. This is a Class 2 trout stream now. So there's a kayak canoe launch here or pull-out part that somebody may have some sort of a device to attach to their bike to pull their kayak behind, that they'd want to drive through that grassy area, mown area. And again, this transpires all the way down to Sunfish Pond. So to put this into the map, it varies in the exact areas. It's around the trail and where it's mown on a regular basis is kind of what that ordinance would say.
And Judd, could you go back to the ordinance?
Yep, stand by. I gotta figure out where I was at. There it is.
So I guess I'm asking for some clarification before I open it up for discussion. I have a hard time reading that comment number 2 section. I don't quite know what it's saying as far as you just went through like the grass areas. Are we allowing the use of bicyclists on the grass areas? Or are we saying that we're not?
So my understanding from Al, our attorney, and I'm not going to play an attorney, but my general idea is that it is allowed. You can on the mown areas ride a bike, right? So the definition of a natural area should mean any land owned by the village which is maintained in a primarily natural state, right? So bicycles and other vehicles, the use of bicycles and other human-powered vehicles in parks and natural areas shall comply with all general ordinances of the village and the following regulations. Bicycles and other non-motorized shall be parked only in areas so designated, except to the extent that the village's comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, the operation of bicycles. So this is except to the extent authorized by the village's comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. The operation of bicycles or other human-powered vehicles within the following areas shall be restricted to these areas. So saying the operation of bicycles or other within the following areas, if you stopped it there, that would go to A and B, right? But it's saying shall be restricted to established village trails, roads, paths, or other pedestrian ways that have been improved to facilitate pedestrian use by the installation of concrete, asphalt, compacted gravel, wood chips, or similar materials. These other areas then are natural areas, which is defined here, in or adjacent to Western Green Park, natural areas, again defined here, located south of Western Green Park and east of River Road. This ordinance is just an additional ordinance to the ordinances we already have on the books. We have ordinances, we've enforced them to the extent that we can. It requires public input to let us in the public safety know that there's transgressions happening and that we can get out there and facilitate and investigate those, right? This is just clarifying and further winnowing it down. But again, it still takes the public's involvement. We don't have staff from a parks department to maintain and be out looking at all these areas 24/7. We can probably go ahead and put cameras all over if people want. That would be one thing. It'd be an expensive proposition, but the police department doesn't either. So it requires public engagement and to know when things are happening and to report it as soon as we can. And then can the public safety team get there to find those people, right? It's no different than the graffiti that a resident in the village kindly took pictures of and sent to us. Thanks, Mike. And we had it, I've documented it and they're being removed, but it takes somebody else to report it for people to know that those things are happening. So.
Thank you, Jen. Don?
Jim, I agree with you. I still am confused. Can bikes be in Western Green where the trail is, there's grass on both sides? So does this say, and it's mowed, does this say that anybody that wants to ride a excuse me, bikes or other motorized vehicles or non-motorized vehicles, they can ride on the grass there because it's mowed? That's what
Correct.
I don't understand.
Yep.
So every place that's mowed, which you showed me, thank you very much for sending me that, can be ridden on with a bicycle, skateboard, anything like that, correct?
Yes, this is,
Human powered.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Don. Any other committee members? Matt?
I have a question about the last part of number 2, about the installation of concrete, asphalt, compacted gravel, wood chips, or similar materials. It's my understanding, and since I just looked in the comprehensive plan that we're currently operating under, that there was a hiking path on the hill south of River Road, or south of Innovation Drive, south of Rivers Turn Park. There was a hiking path that goes up that hill, doesn't have any of those materials on it. And I would assume that any other paths that were created would be similarly just a dirt path. Is there some reason why it was these materials listed that would make it different? And then a secondary question, is that hiking trail still going to be permitted to be used? Or is that, what is the state of that hiking trail at this point?
So I believe the extent by which this references that concrete, asphalt, compacted gravel, wood chips, other similar materials is to designate that the village has said, hey, here's an area that you can use to go by bike, right? So it's built with these materials, or it's a mown surface area. If it's not that, motorized or non-motorized, human-powered vehicular access is not authorized other than as deemed acceptable. Public Works has to get in there to maintain facilities, then we can do that, right? But otherwise, it's just prohibited by all. As for the trail that's itself, the hiking trail, there's been no designations. So this was directed to us by the village board the last time, which is really kind of came from what this committee said the last time, that when you tried to, there were several motions made, right, that alluded to this. That was shared to the board, that information, then the board kind of gave direction. And this is what Al, our attorney's best effort was to draft that ordinance, meeting the needs of 7 individuals and then what was shared by the other 6 individuals at that board meeting, at this committee meeting then to say, here's what we should have drafted. That makes sense. So it does not address foot traffic off trail systems or that what was originally probably a deer trail that humans started to take up Hawthorne Point back in through there, right? You could still technically do that by foot.
I guess I could add some clarification that the trail you're talking about, that was there before the paved trail got put in. So I remember walking on that. And at that time, it was actually a wood chip trail, or the village wood chipped it at one point. But what I wanted to mention with the ordinance that, Judd, correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at that ordinance, it says unless or except to the extent authorized by the village comprehensive outdoor recreational plan. So right now that area is not mentioned as anything different or really any areas, but once we work through the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, there's the opportunity to designate areas for, say, other uses that might not be on a wood chip or gravel trail.
Certainly, if we come across lands that the village decides, hey, we want to purchase and move forward with adding mountain bike amenities to those lands, that would be outlined in the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. I like Dane County, they still call it Parks and Open Space Plan, but anyways, it would be outlined in that court plan. We could then use that without having to go back and then redo an ordinance again, right? So that's kind of what he's trying to get accomplished with this ordinance, is to say, this ordinance can defer to the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan as a superseding document, because that gives us more nimbleness to make adjustments to it in a more expedient manner than having to work its way through the village board at times. So just then I brought this GIS map, right? So that trail that you're talking about comes somewhere up through here, right? And there's an open path here that residents can take to get through here from this area down into this area. So it was contemplated that this would have access, that you can use, this is public land, it's owned by the Village of DeForest, to get access this wooded area down through here.
Yeah, man, it's still your floors.
Can you go back to the ordinance?
Yep. One of these, there is.
Is there any more clarification on what a designated area is for parking bicycles? So it states parked only in areas so designated, and I'm a little unsure what that means.
I would imagine that means if we have bike racks established, that would be where you would be able to park a bike.
So for example, if my son wants to go fishing and he parks his bike, let's say that little mode area north of Innovation Drive, where there's a picnic table, or at least there was one, that wouldn't have a bike rack there, he would just lay his bike down, he would be in violation of the ordinance. Well, it doesn't say what's designated as a parking area, so I think that's a little confusing. Right.
Yeah, I think that causes confusion for a lot of people. That should be made clear.
Yeah, if you can only park your bike in a place where there's bike rack, then then we gotta get a lot more bike racks.
So as outlined in the memo, I guess you have options, right? You can vote to recommend this to the village board. You can vote to not recommend this to the village board. Or you can vote to say, hey, we don't think anything needs to be done because it's already covered by ordinance, right? If you wanted to vote to recommend this to the village board, then you certainly could add in a caveat to say, hey, we think this needs to be further defined. Or we might recommend that you can park in a grassy area by laying your bike down or up against the picnic table, something to secure your bike while you're fishing or generally enjoying nature in that area, whatever. That's probably not legally right, and I don't hold, and again, I'm not an attorney, so.
Just a second. Amanda, it's still your floor. Are you? Yep. Dawn?
So Judd, what you're saying is under the recommendations, number 3, take no further action, so we would still have the ordinance as it's written now without any changes. Is that what I'm assuming there?
Right, so the ordinances would stay as they are, right? And that would be your recommendation to the board to leave that be, right? And the board can certainly make determinations one way or another.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I guess I'd like to speak next. And Chad, could you scroll up to the top of the ordinance?
The ordinance?
Yeah, I'm just trying to say expedite. I'm gonna make a recommendation to, I'm gonna make a motion to recommend the ordinance as written, and I'm seeing on the, at least the agenda, it's 2024-012, which I think is what we're looking at, the red line version. But I'm gonna request that the item, it goes 5.1, those 2 sentences about parking be removed. So the 501 would be lined out and the 2 would become a 1, and that's my current motion.
Second it.
And that motion was seconded by Bill. So there'll be, I have discussion myself, but I'm gonna open it up to the committee for further discussion. Anybody? Okay, the discussion that I would like to have is, I still am concerned with the 5.2. Because I feel that that's a bit gray yet, is my opinion, and the only way my opinion currently that this could work if if it's clearly known that you can bike on grass or mowed area. And I don't feel like that's exactly what it says. So what I would like to see add, or wish we can have some discussion on this, there's a planted, I'm looking up in the definitions under 2, the planted and turf grasses and routinely mowed. That should be a surface mentioned in section 502 as a surface that would be allowed for bicycles. Does that make sense?
If I'm understanding, you would want to say under 5.2, which in your motion is actually 501, that the installation of concrete, asphalt, compacted gravel, wood chips, or planted turf grasses that are routinely mowed by the village or similar materials would be the language there.
Yeah, something very similar to that, or exactly that. That's what I would like to see. And I guess since I made the motion, I look at Bill, if you would accept that as a friendly.
Well, I think 4.2 is just a definition, defines natural area. It means non-mowed, correct? And anything else is paved, wood chips, or similar items. 4.2 is just a definition, defines what is natural. I'm just trying to figure it out, and 5.1 would say except authorized by the outdoor plan. I'm fine with that, but I mean, we could, it doesn't remove anything and I'm fine with that.
So by fine with that, are you accepting the friendly?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Dawn.
Can you restate that again, Jim?
So what I requested that is now part of the motion is that 502, which is now 501 because there is no 501. I can't see the ordinance right now, but you pulling up the actual one? Yeah.
We haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, we have.
5.1 is still 5.1 and 5.2.
Okay. You're bringing up the actual.
I'm trying to bring it up so I can amend this as we go, so you can all see what you're trying to have got done. I can't do it on a PDF, sorry. So what I have here is you want this stricken, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd save it as a draft because we don't. Or another version.
All right, so we're striking this. This becomes 1. And then you want to say wood chips.
Is it mowed grass or something? Turf grasses. Yeah,
These are mowed turf areas. I like that. It's good.
that's the motion that's on the floor right now. Matt?
I guess I'd just like to state that I don't feel that this ordinance does anything different than what is already on the books. I mean, it's already, you can't damage property in the village. That's part of the ordinance. And so I'm not quite sure what this changes. Maybe it more clearly defines some spaces. And I'm simply talking about number 5. As far as everything above with plants, I think all that's fine. I'm just not quite sure the point of this extra, what I see as extra stuff that's targeted at biking, that's already covered by other ordinance.
You, Matt? Don?
I agree, Matt. And that's why I asked Judd, if we don't pass, I mean, if we don't recommend this, we can just say it should stay as an ordinance that we have already. There's been a lot of time, I know, put into this and talking to the lawyer and everything else, and the time that Greg and Judd and Reese have put into this. But again, we have all of these ordinances. Some of this is very vague. I think it'll be difficult for a lot of residents to quite figure out what's right and what's wrong. And I don't find it enforceable. The village staff has no time to do this, to follow around everybody's complaint about whatever's going. And the police department, my goodness gracious, they have much better things to do. I find this redundant, actually. So I'm sorry, but I'm not in agreement with this at all.
I appreciate your opinion. Thank you. Mike or Mackenzie, anything you want to add?
I feel this proposed the new 501, former 502. While similar, I do feel it does provide more of an educational piece and provides more clarity of what is and is not expected. So I appreciate the revision of it it's more educational and allows for more concrete view of what is and is not accepted.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
I agree, and that it just further defines, this ordinance can always be changed in the future, but it just clarifies uses, and it's an ongoing thing with the open space plan. And that's another discussion on the use of this nature area that right here, it kind of defines it, gives us a base to recommend things in the open space plan for the upper Yahara River corridor. And it just defines a certain activity. Maybe next time we're gonna have to have something for cross-country skiers that say you can't cross-country ski through the established prairie areas. I mean, it's just defines it, and it, I fully agree with this, and to recommend it to the village board.
I guess I'm just thinking out loud, your comment, Bill, of say cross-country skiers, that just sort of threw me for a loop, because I agree with Matt in that light. We're targeting bicyclists by bringing this up in section 5 when it could be snowshoers or cross-country skiers, or I don't know, not necessarily snowmobiles, but whatever else is manpower that could be disturbing the natural areas too. So the other thing that I do, another comment that you guys made me think of is right now, this 5.1 as written or as amended here, it talks about the village comprehensive outdoor recreation plan as being the guiding document for more or less the accepts. So when, say, hopefully we find land or a location for bicycles, I'm just a bit concerned about that, because that takes time to modify the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And what I'm thinking is maybe we want to have an and or an or that would allow, say, the village board to do an action to allow a trail somewhere that's maybe not shown in the Corps plan. Any thoughts on that, Bill? Being that you're the motion.
I think the village board can change the ordinances at any time, whether we rescind it, change it, or eliminate it altogether. It's this committee to recommend to the village board with public input that we got tonight on. And I think they fully agree with what this ordinance brings forward, clarifies it even more. The trail off Innovation Drive is a dirt trail. And this says you can have bikes on dirt trails. If it had wood chips, improved gravel, concrete, it would be allowed. And dirt trails, or making your own trails through the woods, you are damaging village property, but this further defines it is all. You can't have somebody saying, well, I didn't know I could move that tree log over here and dig dirt and build a ramp. I didn't think I was hurting anything. I wasn't cutting any live trees. This further defines it. A path is a paved thing, and it's allowed. A natural area, this is defining a natural area and what can happen in a natural area. We have a 10-foot paved asphalt track through there, through a natural area, and you're allowed to bike, hike, and cross-country ski, and various other things. Take your stroller down that paved path. But this further defines we don't want people on bikes out in the woods making their own trails, moving dirt, moving logs that are naturally there. logs naturally aren't moved. I mean, once a log falls down, the insects start working on it, decomposing. We could sit here all night, but it's to protect the natural areas at the upper Yahara River trail system is unique. We're not talking about over here where it's grass and then they can whip around with bikes and whatever. Or in, what's that called? Over by the high school, that park. Where the well is. Oh, over on Lexington or,
Liberty Land?
yeah, Liberty Land. I mean, if bikes were going through the community gardens, it would have to have an ordinance saying you can't go through the community gardens. You're allowed on the turf area. Well, you don't have that problem. We have a problem with illegal trails through the woods. And this is going to be defined in the comprehensive plan as to what we want for that area. And this gives us a base in what's allowed. And it's going to be different from what is allowed in Fireman's Park. So I think this ordinance is good. It gives some teeth, gives some definition that's more definitive. And I just brought up cross-country skiing as an example. It could be anything else that could be changing the landscape or affecting the landscape. And I agree, we're not going to have Reese out there or Greg or Judd out there, chasing people down, but it gives the opportunity for our public safety if there is a problem, or it gives us more leeway to shut a trail down. It gives our parks department more say in saying this is a policy. It's a policy and an ordinance. And it's just voicing to the Parks Department that we support. This is what the residents of the village want.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Dawn?
We have ordinances already that say it's illegal to destroy property. This, to me, sounds like it's called mountain bike ordinance. And why are we doing this I'm sorry, I know Greg and Reese and Judd put so much work into this, but we have the wording already in ordinances about destroying property. So to me, this is so focused on biking, on a particular kind of biking, that we don't need it. We already have those rules. And to add some more rules that are really there to start with, if you look through all the ordinances, which I've read quite a few of them, our Public Works Department, our Police Department, they don't need another thing to try to follow. Somebody complained, somebody's doing this, somebody's doing that. The laws are there, the ordinances are there already. And why we're doing this and taking time, effort, and money is beyond me. I'm sorry, we don't need this, in my opinion.
Thank you, Don. Mike? Or sorry, Matt?
It's all right, Jim. I agree with Don. I think it's redundant. There's already ordinances about not damaging property. And as far as the educational piece, if you've been paying attention to village politics at all, you probably are aware that this has been something that's ongoing. And I would encourage people to, contact the police if people are damaging public property. I mean, that's the route to go by. So whether that's kids building mountain bike trails, or maybe kids building a fort because they move some logs around. If you really want to have some teeth in that, then you have to start making reports to the police. And that's the avenue to actually like have something happen. I requested open records from the police about if there was any incidences involving bicycles over the last, since July of last year when we started mountain biking in DeForest. There was one, and it was on a Saturday when we had a race. We weren't there. We weren't in DeForest, and it was a gentleman in his 20s and he was swearing at people on the trail. So we don't have anybody on our team in their 20s, so coaches or athletes. So, I think that the avenues are there if people want to use them. There's ordinances in place if people want to address them, but this is targeted at a specific group. You could have, my daughter runs cross country. The cross country team could start practicing there and just running mile after mile after mile, and they would destroy it. So then we'd have to have an ordinance against the cross country team practicing there. I mean, it seems ridiculous to have something that's redundant when there are other vehicles to curb that type of situation.
Thank you, Matt. Judd?
I was just gonna, somebody asked, how can this be changed with the comprehensive outdoor plan or the ordinances, right? So we're a representative government, right? There's 7 people who are duly elected to represent all the residents of the village of DeForest. That's their job, right? Those 7 trustees, one designated as a president, that kind of oversees and runs the board meetings, but those 7 folks are the ones who are elected by the people of DeForest to vote and make changes to the ordinances, to the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. They're the ones who vote and make things happen, right? Oftentimes they do it based upon information that's shared with them from the public at large, but having sat in those chairs before as well, there's a lot of times you don't hear anything from anybody. And you just have to make a determination on what's in the best interest of the community as a whole, right? So it's not a democracy, it's a representative government, and that village board is tabbed with that, and they solicit feedback from the 7 of you to give your input on what you might want to have happen as well.
Thank you, Judd. Unless anybody else raises their hand, I think I'd like to do a roll call vote to see what happens to this motion.
All right, so roll call, Bill Landgraf,
Yes.
Don Clemens, Matt Hayden, Jim Simpson,
Yes.
Mackenzie Lucius,
Yes.
Mike McHugh,
No.
and the motion fails 3-3.
Thank you, Reese. I'm gonna attempt a additional motion. And so what I'm looking at is there's these 5, 1, 2. So I'd like to make what'd it be? A motion to recommend to the village board sections 1, 3, 4, nothing on 5 and 6.
You said 1, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, not 5, but 6.
You want 5 stricken?
Stricken.
Just 5.
I think so, because I think that's the only section that talks specifically about bicyclists. I'm just looking at it because I think those other things are just clarification of, say, natural area and things, so. Is it? Yeah, so not 6 also. So 1 through 4.
Section 5, 2, A and B define the natural areas. Be a map area. Without that, 4.2 has no meaning. correct? Because a natural area isn't defined in any of our current park areas. So if you don't have five, well, it'd be 5.2 A and B, that defines the area. So 4.2 would be mute. You aren't defining any areas.
I guess it's only a definition. I don't know if that definition is used in other locations, but it'd be available, I guess.
Well, the 4.2 defines, is a definition used in section 5. You don't have section 5, you don't need the definition in 4.2. Because you aren't defining natural areas. There is nothing to define if you eliminate 5.2 A, B, natural areas. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but I'll maybe make a point of order because I put a motion out and we haven't had a second, so
Oh,
we
that's
probably
true.
really shouldn't be discussing it, so. My motion potentially will fail for lack of a second anyway, so.
Oh, that's fine. I'm sorry.
Restate your motion.
The motion is to make a recommendation to the board to amend the ordinances to include sections 1 through 4. And not 5 or 6. Seconded by Matt. So now further discussion, and Bill, did you have any more to add?
No, I just don't have any more to add. It's just, when you really think of it, 4.2 is a definition. And section 5 is what you're defining. So you don't even need 4 then.
Is there any additional discussion on this current motion, Matt?
I feel that the sections 1, 2, and 3 are important to move forward with. And recognize that section 5 is something that has had a challenge moving forward, and we've discussed ad nauseum. And I believe that it is important for us to move forward with those other sections and perhaps come back to section 5 at a later time if needed.
Thank you, Matt. Anybody else?
Just I'll make sure I have this right. So the motion I have on the board is to recommend ordinance 2024-012 with section 5 and 6 removed. Was there anything I was missing from that?
No, that
Okay,
was
that's
the
okay,
motion.
perfect.
Any further discussion or clarification needed? We do a roll call vote again, please, Reese.
Yep, Mike McHugh,
Yes.
Mackenzie Lucius,
Yes.
Don Clemens, Matt Hayden, Jim Simpson,
Yes.
Bill Landgraf. It passes 5-1.
Okay. Thank you all for that discussion. Yeah. We are back on the agenda item 8.2, discussion and recommendation celebrating International Migratory Bird Day.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the Migratory Bird Day celebration every year. To maintain our bird city status, we have to have an event and a resolution passed by the village board. For many years now, we've had Ed Sauer lead a bird walking tour through the Upper Harbor Trail system, typically from Innovation Drive, Rivers Turn Park, south towards Sunfish Pond. This year he did 2 different bird watching events, May 4th and 11th. They've had, first event had 9 people and the second event had 15. We do limit those events so he can talk and they can look for birds. Let's see. He also Ed's been pretty instrumental with our birding and our birding sites. He's had a presentation at Fireman's Park this year in April, talking about birds and wildflowers. That was well attended as well. And this year we've had a lot. He's donated quite a few bluebird houses that we've been installing. And we had the library had a birdhouse building opportunity for families in April, which we had 5 bluebird houses and 3 wood duck houses made. So that was all donated from Blifford Lumberyard here in DeForest, the old Chase Lumber. But so, yeah, I guess we're just looking for a recommendation from you guys to have the village board approve the Bird City USA resolution.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions, comments, or a recommendation?
I would still recommend.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second? Seconded by Dawn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion recommend the Migratory Bird Day, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Item 8.3, Park Trail wayfinding sign. I'm guessing that's you again, Greg?
Yeah, I can talk on this. So we've, in the budget this year, on the CIP budget, we had allocated $25,000 towards trail wayfinding signs to install throughout our trail system. We have 2 different types of signs. We've got the trail wayfinding sign, such as, go down one, showing the map and like you are here. So we've got like 7 to 10 different locations for a big map like this. They're going to be 36 inches wide by I think 4 feet tall. And they'll be kind of spread out throughout town. So we got one at the athletic complex, one at Sunfish Pond, Bear Tree Parkway, Peterson Crossing by Hooper, Liberty Land Park, River Road near Shannon Park, Rivers Turn, near Veterans Park, kind of all over town here, Sunnybrook, Western Green. And then we move on to our signage for along the trails, kind of pointing people into directions towards other parks, towards high school, just kind of giving them direction of where they could go or head to if they want a destination. They know that they're going to go towards Sunnybrook Park if they keep going north at Innovation on the trail, or Western Green Park. So as you can see throughout this slide, we do have, I can't remember how many signs, but quite a few signs that we'll be adding. And at some point, Highway V Trail will connect to Main Street, so we'll include signage on there too, as to get people to head down to Western Green to get out to the food courts. So it's just kind of more of an informational. If you guys see anything that you want to add a sign, I'm open. Need to change something. it's kind of what we've come up with.
Very nice, Greg. More and more people are coming from out of town and using the trails. And many times we're stopped and people will ask, hey, how do I get to this place? Or if I keep going, where am I coming to? So this is a great need. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Again, it looks like you're not necessarily looking for a recommendation. You're just looking for a comment or input. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think if you guys have any input or comments, you can share them now, or feel free to send myself, Judd, or Reese an email, and we'll definitely look into it.
It's an ongoing process, right? So we have X amount of dollars built into the capital improvement plan. So we'll try to tackle as much of this as we can with that funding. Hopefully we can get it all accomplished, but if not, we'll probably include more funds for next year. And as more feedback comes from you all or residents saying, boy, got stopped on the trail 6 times trying to find fill in the blank, we can certainly add that into the wayfinding signage.
And I guess my comment is this is sort of close to some of the things that I do, so I can be pretty nitpicky, so I don't want to take up committee time, so I'll reach out to you at some point, Greg, or somebody else, and ask my comments. The one that I will make more in this open forum is I'm a little bit concerned about the large wayfinding signs as far as if we're going to move forward with those soon, because I feel like that map may be changing with the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. I just want to make sure that it's all current before we go to production on it.
So I know we've been working on updating this map so that this updated map is included as part of the, I think, comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. So we've been updating trails and parks and park names and things like that.
Yeah, the corp plan will only have existing trails. It won't have, like, the corp plan will have proposed trails, right? Future trail extensions potentially, but we aren't certainly going to put that on this map, right? The map is only going to show what's currently existing for trails in the You Are Here. Is this what you're talking about? This maps here, the big You Are Here maps?
Yeah, I just noticed a couple trails missing, so I'll relay that information to you guys.
I don't know that this is a completely updated map that Greg used. This is our old map that he's just using as a reference point. We've had all the new trails updated and marked best we can.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, or I guess if you do have any, please reach out to Judd and Greg if you find something.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So I believe we are done with 8.3, so I'll move on to 8.5, the Urban Wildlife Management Plan update. Is that you, Judd?
Yep. So just as a general update, I shared this with you. It was brought to the board last board meeting, and they had approved this updated plan to change it from a deer to a wildlife management plan. And a few of the areas that were touched on with the appendix is really where in order to manage urban wildlife within the village of DeForest in a manner that balances the needs of wildlife, as well as promoting a healthy ecosystem, human safety and property protection, the village must consider parameters for the DeForest Urban Deer and Wildlife Management Plan for animal species that may come in conflict. The background, again, the board had approved the deer management plan. We've upgraded it. This would be to a wildlife management plan. And really we're following, working with the DNR really in concert with common nuisance urban species. And they've got a website that lists those regular nuisance animals that are in the area. So this spawned out of a conversation, as Lois said, there was interactions in Windsor that had a coyote attacked a dog. The dog, I think, survived, is my understanding. It also happened in the village of DeForest. It attacked a dog that's our chamber director's dog, was attacked by a coyote. And they're denned up in our area, but the Dane County Sheriffs or the Windsor Police Department reached out to us to say, hey, can we partner together, Windsor and DeForest, to handle this issue with the coyotes, because they attacked the dog rather viciously in Windsor. And when the homeowners in that area go out to dissuade the coyotes from coming, they'll take a step towards the coyotes and usually they will retreat. They're not retreating. They don't have fear of humans. So it's only a matter of time before other animals or even small children might get injured, right? So Windsor has a park near there where these coyotes are denned up in. They're denned up just south of Vinburn Road between Gray Road and Vinburn in that open field there, right? Kind of near the tracks, I believe. We reached out to the landowner there and they're not willing to participate with us. They don't wish to see the coyotes harmed. We certainly could trap them and relocate them somewhere else, but it would have to be quite a distance away, right? We don't have that way. So we would have to find other alternatives or other either working with the railroad or other potential landowners in the area if we were to trap them to try to alleviate the problem, right? It's hard to say. I know coyotes are all different, and some can continue to be skittish of human interactions, right? But when one gets emboldened, it's hard to know that we've got that one that's emboldened, right? To take it out of the den, out of that community. But it's also, so we're kind of at the mercy, right? Coyotes are in all 50 states. They've tried to eradicate them. When they howl at night, they're signaling to other coyotes that they're here. And when they miss one of their tribe, that kicks in reproduction immediately, right? So they've expanded themselves quite rapidly and they're a very adaptive animal. They live in urban settings and rural settings. So unfortunately, sometimes the only way to deal with that is to mitigate it the best we can. The overabundance of food is certainly attracting them as well, right? From rabbits and the overabundance of deer are certainly things that have attracted those coyotes and made them proliferate here. So that's why we updated this urban deer management plan. So we would be working in concert with Windsor. We're trying to figure out a plan and come back before the boards to say, here's what we want to do and how we want to implement it. But time can be a little bit of the essence, which this updated plan gives us that discretion. When it's an emergency, we can run to handle that right away. Questions on it?
Yeah, Bill?
Are coyotes defined as a public nuisance or? So the landowner might not have a choice if it's a public nuisance, correct?
You still can't go onto private property to do that. You have to get, you don't have access. You have to get, approval to get there. But you could set up traps around the periphery or other ways, right? And there's nuisance management techniques that the DNR shares with us. And there's a fact sheet, yard audits, coyote hazing techniques, which was touched on, and urban coyote research project. There's a lot of information that's here, right? But when they get to be not timid anymore, that's where there's an issue, right? That we have to then maybe take the next step.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Yes, Judd, can I actually maybe clarify, what are you looking for us tonight?
This is just merely just an update for you. And if you have questions, again, this document is a fluid document. So as things change and ebb and flow, if there's things we need to add or remove, we certainly can. Whether if there was something you wanted to highlight now that we could bring back to the board, or whether it be 6 months from now, we can again adjust and make amends to this as we go. So Lois shared her information. She could certainly come to the village board and share that same thing, and we can certainly look into those things. And if this body wants us to review those hazing techniques and share that video with y'all, we can do that. But it's we're working with the DNR and they're the state experts in wildlife and best management practices. So that's who we're probably going to defer to more times than not.
I guess I'll be bold as a chairperson. Could the information that Lois shared, say with us, when you send that email out, would you mind sharing that with the village board then too?
Certainly. Yeah, I can do that. I have hard copies, so if anyone wants a hard copy, I can give them a hard copy.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anybody? Yep. Well, thank you, Judd, and thank you, Lois. I look forward to watching that YouTube.
The board meets the first and third Tuesday of every month, so the board meets again tomorrow night. Here back in this room at 6 o'clock, and you could come in. There's public comment sessions at that point that you could come and address the village board with your concerns. And I would certainly, I can queue up and you could send the video in advance to Callie Lundgren, Village Hall, and say, hey, this is what I'd like to share with the board. And the board can make a determination if they want to play during the meeting.
Generally, it's not open to public comment now. That was the section earlier, but I guess I would invite you, I guess you can reach out to me. My email and phone numbers on the website, or we can always reach out to staff to get further direction. Thank you, Reese. So again, thank you, Lois, for coming. Item number 9 is department updates. And I guess if you're okay with that, Judd, we'll just move, even though Reese isn't in the room, do 9.1.
We're gonna have a Rigsted Drive reconstruction meeting happening next week, pre-con, I should say. So we'll be kicking off that project. All our other resurfacing projects are done in the village, with the exception of the resurfacing of Northtown Road from where it ends currently by Bell Labs down to the end of TID 4, which is just a little past Durform Lane. That part of Northtown and Bear Tree Parkway, we received bids back for resurfacing, and Tri-County was the apparent low bidder. They were awarded that, right? The board.
Yep.
To that
Yep,
last board
nice.
meeting, sorry.
Meeting.
It's going too quick. So that will be occurring here in the near future, and a bid is out for that connection of Northtown Road from Bell Labs to Windsor through the old Acre Bueller property there. That we should get those bids back a couple weeks, and it'll be before the village board in that first meeting in June, I believe.
Yeah, next week we open.
Yep. Staff's been out doing their normal work around the village, gathering, yard waste from folks. Yard waste site is open. I was out and it was packed full after this past weekend. There was a lot of stuff sitting at that space. So I commend our guys. This week is actually Public Services Week. So if you would be so kind as to thank public service guys, you see them out, maybe go a little easy on them. Don't honk the horn so hard if they're driving slow. I know one person's kind of partial to one of our parks guys a little more than the others, but nonetheless, give Coop a hug, all right? But yeah, so again, I'm very proud of our guys. We have 14 dedicated individuals who give an awful lot and care about this community, right? Some of which don't live here and they still give an awful lot and care about it, right? So I think that says a lot about our guys and that they're willing to go that extra effort for folks. So yeah, I'm proud of them and I thank them for their service. Greg, anything you want to add or update on?
I think you hit everything. Well, Hickory Lane sewer project is still underway. We're hopefully paving Wednesday, weather pending, Hickory Lane from basically V to just past Cake Parkway. And they're heading north of V right now, on Bucky's site.
One more
Should
thing
be
we did.
finished.
Go ahead. One more,
No,
we did the polymer overlay on Innovation Drive Bridge last week. That was successful.
just to let everybody know what the polymer overlay is basically 2 layers of epoxy with rock, granular rock, that helps protect the bridge deck from salt and road traffic. Basically, it'll prolong that bridge for many years.
Thank you. I think, Bill, you wanted to say.
A question, Judd, has there been somebody reached out to me about the cloudiness of water on Northtown Road? Businesses down there, it's almost white. Has there been a?
Down south,
Or
Northtown,
Northtown,
right, in
down
the
by FedEx and
district.
the baseball place? They said the water is just coming out white.
We'll have to take a look at it. I don't know, we flushed it. If there's water in the line somewhere, maybe that's causing the carbonation effect. I don't know. We'll have to.
Yeah. We were down there flushing about 2 weeks ago, so we'll definitely look into it. They should call the Public Works Department and let us know if there's anything like any issues with the water at any time. Just give us a call.
We can go on
That way we
site.
can-
If they'll let us in and would give us a sample, we can look at it and see what's going on with it. If there's,
Yeah, I thought they did contact and it's rough when you go through a third person, but I'll ask them again.
I haven't heard anything from any of our water guys. Greg, have you heard anything from
No.
Ryan, Steve, the rest? So.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Okay. Sounds like we're done with 9.1, so 9.2, recreation and community enrichment update.
Yeah, so we had our first special event this last Friday. It was a Friday Flick. We had about 400 people, I would say, 300 to 400 people. It was a really great attendance. We couldn't have asked for any better weather. It was beautiful. Then next Thursday, we will have our first Friday Eve, which is dueling pianos. We're getting ready for the Dragon Arts Fair, which is on June 1st. We're shadowing this year, so we're learning a lot. We've had 3 tournaments at the AC so far. This last weekend, there was over 35 teams there. We're starting to get more sanctioned organization applications for usage of our field. So that's going to be a topic that we'll be bringing back in the future to get input from the committee here and potentially some village board action. The farmer's market is starting June 4th. I know Trisha is excited about some new vendors that we have coming this year. I think we have a new produce vendor and a couple others. And we're going to be doing some fun special events this year with the farmer's market. I know we're going to be doing like a Veterans Day where there's veteran bucks for them to be able to use at the different vendors, which is sponsored by TDS, which is great. And then we're going to be doing a kids crafts day and dairy month and a yoga in the park. And so Trisha's really been doing a great job thinking of some fun ideas to get people back down to the market. Some of you may have heard, but we did get naming rights solidified for the athletic complex. So Quick Trip is going to be doing the naming rights at the athletic complex. That was approved at the last village board meeting. And we're working with the sign company right now to get just the timeline and all the quotes and everything. So hoping to see some movement on that in the next month or two. And then we just actually heard from Van de Waal today, and they've been working on the draft comprehensive outdoor recreation plan to bring back for edits, questions, feedback, recommendations. And they're looking to come back for the July meeting. So just kind of wanted to keep you guys updated on that and when to expect it. There's a lot more, but I'll stop talking.
Thank you, Reese. Item number 9.3, natural resources update. Anybody?
I can just talk a little bit about our Western Green Natural Area Cleanup Day was Saturday. We had a family of 6, like the grandparents, the mom and dad, and a couple of their kids, and then we had Jim and Ann Seacher, and a couple others, which was a really good turnout for the first, I'd say, annual cleanup. We picked out a bunch of Dame's Rocket, I think it's called. It's that purple white flower that's growing right now. It's all blooming. That's invasive, so we're removing a bunch of that. We had a whole truck bed full. So I thought it went really well. I think that's all I've got.
And I would just jump on the Friday Flicks. We had the rainfall simulator at the Friday Night Flicks, and it was a big hit. We had tons and tons of kids gathered around. Heidi Putnam from the university project that we're working on was there. She was really engaging the kids. The kids were involved dumping water, and we probably overhydrated some of those water plants. But it was actually, some of the kids started to be able to teach others what was happening with the water and why it was happening. So they were engaged. It was just a fun science project to have there. So.
Thank you. And if I could tack on the natural resources, the Friends of the Ohio River Headwater had a cleanup on Saturday, and we had 15 people in the water. We had other people helping on shore or whatever setting up. But we've got the Yahara River through DeForest divided up into 8 sections, and we're able to clean 3 of them with those 15 people. Generally, our fall is the bigger one, so we're able to get out. And I'll do a plug for Greg that I think he knows about, but I don't know, I might be surprising him. That June 11th is our annual meeting, and I think Greg is going to be there to do a short presentation for the village. Invite you to that.
Yep, I'm aware, and we'll provide an update on our stream bank restoration project and stuff like that.
If you get a tire or a bike, you always seem to get one of those every year, which is amazing to me, but what's the wildest thing pulled out of the river?
Yeah. I don't know, I'm assuming the bags have been picked up already, so you might be better off telling me what they found, because I wasn't there. But thank you all. So item number 10 is convene in the closed session, and I believe the way we do this is we have to take a motion to go in the closed session. So I guess.
Motion to move in closed session.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Matt. And roll call vote, Reese?
Yes. Jim Simpson,
Aye.
Bill Landgraf,
Aye.
Don Clemens, Matt Hayden, Mike McHugh, Mackenzie Lucius.
Aye.
We are going into closed session. Does anybody need a 3-minute break?
I'll need just a second because I have to set up a breakout room and stuff, and I'm not quite as
Off, so he just might be.
I didn't see him on here.
yeah, I think we lost him, so we're good to go.
So we are on item 12, actions resulting from the closed session. Item 12.1, recommendation of park land acquisition. Is there anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to the village board to pursue these 2 parcels for possible addition to the Village of DeForest Parkland.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second? Seconded by Dawn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item 13, any other business that lawfully comes before the Public Services Committee? Anybody? Seeing none. Item 14,
Make a motion to adjourn.
motion by Bill, seconded by me. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned at 8:48. Thank you all.